Hi, good morning, guys. Name's Len Lowings, Sectional Title Administrators. I'm the Managing Member of L&B Property Services. Myself and my partner, Mr. Bobby Render, we were approached by trustees of a building smack bang in the CBD right next to the courts. We were approached to please come and help. They identified problems with overcrowding and suspected drug dealing, etc. This is a 7-story building, 168 residential units of about 40 square meters, with a commercial unit at the bottom. When we took on the building, we had a look and tried to assess. There was overcrowding. I'm talking about probably about 10, 11 people in a 40 square meter unit. Being a body corporate, remember that you've got 168 different owners, different personalities, guys that don't want to empty their units. So you're sitting with the issue of you need the permission of the very people who are placing these tenants in their building. So we called special general meetings, annual general meetings, and we were shot down. We tried to raise special levies. We try to call upon the owners to take responsibility, because your Sectional Title Act doesn't give the trustees and the managing agent or the administration of a sectional title unit any authority over the tenant. We have no relationship with the tenant. We've only got a relationship with the owner. So what was happening is that we would identify a problematic unit. We would go to that owner and say, listen, your unit is overcrowded. He would then make an appointment with his tenant. By the time he gets there, the tenant says, oh, no, it was my aunt and uncle that was down from Joburg. They were only staying for a couple of days. They've gone back home now. Everything is fine. Owner comes back, Len, guy, everything is sorted out. 2 weeks later, there's another 15 people in that 40 square meter unit. So we also tried to obviously keep the building functional. We try to keep investor owners with their income, and it actually is impossible. So I had to then take the Sectional Title Act and really start looking through and how the Act could possibly assist. Banks started blacklisting the building, wouldn't give bonds. Value started decreasing, which then became a problem in terms of collecting the levies, because you would go to auction the property, and there would be no value. The banks were at the time giving 700,000, 600,000 rand bonds, and we couldn't recover the levies. So the banks were turning down the distressed sales. So we were really caught between a rock and a hard place. What then happened was I sat down with our attorney, Leon Lochner from Robbie & Robbie, and said, listen, we really got to do something and look out the box. The city was getting involved. Your JP Smith was busy writing a problematic building bylaw. The CCID was on our case. So we went through and we had a look, and we got to Section 48 of the Sectional Title Act, which basically deals with the destruction and damage of buildings. I said to the attorney, I said, listen, although the building isn't physically fallen down, surely if there's no administrative structure anymore, surely that means that the building is destroyed. The administration is destroyed. This is a sectional title complex. And it was heading that way. It was getting there. So we had a look at Section 48.1, where it stated that the building can be declared a scheme. And 41C said that the court could decide whether the buildings were destroyed or not. So that sort of put that on the back burner and thought, okay, well, if we can go to court and deem that the building is destroyed, how does that help us as property administrators as well as the trustees? We then further looked and saw that the courts could then give special conditions. So they can deem the building destroyed, and then they can give you special conditions that you need to use to reinstate the building. So we thought, okay, well, that will compel us to get the owners, the absentee landlords, the guys that weren't paying, to get them to pay special levies, etc. The next section we looked at, and this is the one that we actually went to court with, was that the court could declare the building a scheme for the rebuilding or the reinstatement of the building in the complex. So what we then did was, the strategy was as follows. We went to a structural engineer and said, listen, please come out, give a full structural engineer report on this building. There was clearly, because of the mass of people in there, our municipal accounts were sitting at 130,000 Rand. Remembering 168 units, 1,000 Rand a month levy, we weren't collecting everything. So all the money went to try and keep the water on and the electricity on. We were sitting with probably 4,000 to 5,000 people in the building at any given time. We then got the structural engineer to go out and have a look at the spalding, because we couldn't maintain the building. It was just physically impossible with the funds that were available. The engineer came with a report, said, look, there's spalding. The building is of substandard. With the amount of people that were in the building, if a fire occurred, the fire escapes weren't big enough, etc., etc. We then applied to court and said to the magistrate, listen, bottom line is that this building is destroyed as far as we are concerned. There's an engineer's report. We got a costing from the engineer's report. It would cost about 12 million Rand to fix this building, which meant a special levy per owner of about 60,000 Rand. Clearly wasn't popular with the owners of this building. The court then awarded us this application, and we started the process. At the time, Councillor J.P. Smith was busy drafting his problematic building bylaw. It's nicknamed the Senator Park bylaw. And we started working in conjunction with the city. We found that working together is better than trying to fight with each other. So with the help of the CCID, the problematic building unit, and Councillor Smith, we declared the building a problem building, which means that in terms of Section 7.6 of the problematic building bylaw, all occupation in a building that has been declared a problem building is unlawful, unless the city gives special permission. The problem at this building was we had resident owners who had been there for 25 years, they were pensioners. We had to take into consideration their financial situation as well. So we had requested from the city that these people be given special permission to stay in the building. Then, when we awarded the order, we went to the owners and said, listen guys, instead of going and applying for an eviction order for 168 people, let's give the tenants notice. So we had a big drive. We sent out notice. We said, listen guys, you've got to be out. The owners terminated leases on the court order. The CCID came in, problematic building unit came in, said, listen, you guys have got to be out, And we were expecting a riot. We actually had the riot police on standby at the due date, as well as the fire department. We were really prepared for the worst. And on the 30th of June, 2011, when it was the date, the guys left. I think I had 4 people that were still in the block. They left, all right. This is what they left the building like. Our passages, this is the refuse room, passages. And what we had to do was, when people were moving out, other guys were squatting. So they would break into the units and then just squat. And we would have to get eviction orders to get them out. So what we had to do is, we actually had to weld up the doors so that nobody could break in of the units that were vacant. The guys happily turned on taps and flooded units. The police were looking for drugs. They would do police raids. This was our extractor fans up top where they cut open to look for raids, for drugs. The issue that we're sitting with is that the building itself was completely destroyed by the SAPS, as well as these tenants. The SAPS would come look for drugs. They would smash open the doors. They would cut open our extractor fan vents. the tenants would break the lifts because they would need the police to run up the stairs and not come up the lift to surprise them. So we put in brand new lifts for R1 million, and within 45 minutes of activation, the lifts were down. So we just switched it off. This process has taken us about 6 to 7 years to get right because it was a learning curve. What we did was, initially we tried to keep the building alive, keep owners with money in their pockets for rentals. But the problem is that you get one unit sorted out, one floor sorted out, the other floors just get worse. The guys were moving between flats. We'd evict the one guy from the 7th floor and find him in the 4th floor. It was crazy. So the only way to handle problem buildings is to evacuate the building completely and start with a clean slate. We then went into the reinstatement phase, where we did the wet works outside, which was the spalding and to make it look pretty on the outside. And phase 2 was the internal passages and common properties. The levies were raised. The problem again that we were sitting with is that the values dropped. This is now a problem building, a vacant building, the banks weren't giving bonds, and we've just raised the 60,000 rand per unit special levy. Our values dropped as low as 180,000 rand for prime property in the centre of Cape Town. We were sitting with about 6 million rand worth of arrears. We had raised a 9 million rand special levy to cover the costs. And we started with the outside in order to give the appearance of the building, the first impressions of the building, to try and up the values. We collected the money through courts, through the legal process. And these are my extractor fans today. These are my passages today. Now the problem now what we're sitting with, not the problem, but what we're sitting with now is that the values of the flats have increased to about 500,000. So there's value attached. New investors are coming in, and the building is saved. Ladies and gentlemen, sectional title is one of the better ways of getting, it was designed, in my opinion, for the younger generation, the first married couples to come and buy units. It has changed that way. It's now 90% investor. If the investors are absentee landlords, you've got problems. And buildings can change, go to this very, very quickly. You need a strong set of rules in play, which we've obviously rewritten rules, and we've got vetting boards, etc., etc. So we then also redesigned the foyer, because obviously that's your first impressions of the building. And that's basically it in a nutshell. We at LNV are looking at other problematic buildings to apply the same strategies. We believe that we can cut the process down from 7 years to 3 years now that we know what we're doing. We've tried everything. We've tried everything from putting turnstiles in, and I'm talking about the turnstiles you get at the rugby, those big turnstiles to try and help with access control. But the guys then throw their tags out the window. There's new biometric systems in place, and that kind of thing. So thank you. I didn't take my entire half an hour. I don't think I need to. If there are any questions, the guys can ask me later.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.